Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is my day trading 101 complete guide. In this video, I'm going to go over my day trading indicators I use, candlestick patterns, how to find volume spikes, and my pre-market prep. Now keep in mind, this is not a one size fits all. There is multiple strategies. This is just what's helped me. In my experience, the number one thing we should all be looking for is breaking news. If you compare breaking news with volume and a few indicators, you might have a recipe for success. Another great tool for day trading is a PreMarket Scanner. I use TradingView for my scanner, but there is multiple scanners. Sometimes in your own trading platform, you may actually have this available to you. But I use TradingView with a pretty vague scan, as you can see here, as I want to see all the pre-market gappers and I want to mark levels on the day charts to find the support and resistance on obvious levels. After we run this scan, we'll get a list of stocks in the pre-market that are gapping up. I always sort these to the highest percentage up, and then I take a look from there. Now if we scroll down a little bit, you'll see ticker symbol BNGO. Let's take a look deeper into this one. Now this is exactly what we want to see when we're scanning in the pre-market. We want to see it gap up, and we want to pair that with news. And in this case, it did have that breaking news, and it beat its estimate in sales. Now we can see the news had a significant impact on the stock's price action. So now we're going to pull up the technical indicators I use and break it down a little bit more in detail. Now in TradingView, there is a tab called Indicators. You can go ahead and click that tab there, and it'll give you a whole range of indicators that you can use while day trading. First day trading indicator I'm going to use is the EMA. You can type that in, it'll come up right here as the moving average. Click on that and it will add it to your chart. Next indicator I use is the VWAP, that's VWAP. Go ahead and type that in and click on that and it will also add it to your chart. Alright, when we add those indicators to our chart, it's going to look like a mess of things, but you can see over on the left side, if you're using TradingView, on the left side you have this little eye here, you can hide it, and that'll hide the EMA, and the VWAP, you can hide that one, and you have it there. And let me hit that there. So if we zoom out on this chart, right now we're just looking at that day. This is where it gapped up here. This is the move it gapped up, trickled all the way up. This is where it opened, fell down to here, bounced, bounced, bounced. Now I'm going to zoom in on this here. This is market open. We're looking at a 2-minute chart. If I hit the little eye on the EMA, it's going to add a line to my chart. Now you can customize this line any way you want just by double clicking on the line itself like that, or you can double click on the EMA over here. If you double click on that, you can go to the inputs, the style, and you can change the color of it and kind of customize it the way you like it. Same with the VWAP. You can go over here, hit the eye, and it will add it to your chart. And it may look like a mess, but what we're looking for is a lot of times when day trading, we look to see this thing hit around the bottom level of the VWAP and make a move towards the top. We like to see these bars at the bottom of the chart. These are the volume bars. We want to see them to the buyer's side, which would make them green. And we want to see them increasing, almost forming a staircase in the right direction. In this case, we saw that this stock opened at the top. It opened here. Let me zoom in here to see exactly where it opened. It opened here. It went straight up, immediately jumped above the VWAP, that green line there. I'll zoom back out and we'll pull it over, and it fell down. So it started all the way up here around the 555 and fell all the way back down to the $5 and then bounced around. But what we can see is here, the VWAP line acted as a support. Once it reached down here, it started catching support and tested lines again and again. Now what was important was this purple line. Once it works above the purple line, we're looking for a candle to close above the purple line. As you can see here, this one shot above, but we had a doji candle here, a hammer candle here, and resistance. So we didn't see any solid price action here, not anything to really start buying into. Then it fell back down here. See here, this is where we had confirmation, in my opinion, and it was above the VWAP. Now we want it to be in this channel VWAP, but we'd prefer it to be above that middle line here. But this is a perfect example of possibly making an area or an entry in this area. Maybe come back to the VWAP here, and if you could sell at the VWAP line, you're looking at about 4%, almost 5% move on this one. Now it's not crazy, but this is a quick scalp. This is what a lot of people will do, especially in a choppy market that we've been in. So 4 or 5% in a matter of, these are 2-minute candles, and if we measure it here, if you're buying around here and selling it here, then it was about 14 bars. So you're looking at less than an hour's worth of work, and you're making 5% return. So, but again, you can turn this little eye here, turn off the VWAP, and you can see the purple line. Right here, it tested the line, but it broke the line. Once it broke the line, this is a bearish symbol or a bearish sign. So it started coming down. So we were waiting for this thing to cross back above and hold, not just cross above, because a lot of times you'll see it cross above here with a wick, here with a little bit of a doji and a little bit of a candle or a hammer, and it just didn't really do enough. So we're looking for these candlesticks. We want a full bodied candle paired with some volume in the right direction. As we see here, a little staircase in the right direction, had some spikes. So once we started losing that volume, that's when I would try to decide to get out of my trade, and that was in this area here. Now if we turn this EMA off and the VWAP back on, then again what you can see is this thing, we preferably want to get in the trade once it closes above this. So once it came up here and crossed the VWAP line, you can make an entry here and then sell here. The problem with this stock here is there wasn't enough range, and if you did so, you'd be scalping maybe 2%, which again, I mean, it's nothing, it's not bad. I mean, you're looking, if you bought on this candle and sold in this candle, you're looking at a total of 6 minutes worth of work, maybe 10 minutes worth of work, and you've been paid out 2%. And if you maintain 25,000 or more, you can do this multiple times a day. And I know if you're in the UK or elsewhere out of the United States, there is no trading rules, day trading rules, so you can enter in and out of these trades and scalp the 2% again and again when you see these opportunities set up in your favor. Now, if we saw the rest of the day, this thing continued to then test the VWAP. Once it broke this VWAP line, this line was supposed to be support. Now that it broke it, it's resistance. So we needed to be a solid candle above and then one to follow. We had a solid candle here to break above it, but then we had a red candle, so we knew that this thing wasn't really holding. There was no price action and no volume. So this was just on one. This is on BNGO, and that's using the EMA and using the VWAP. Again, if we head back to our pre-market scan, we also came across this one HYRE. This was an interesting chart because if you pulled up the chart itself, we saw that this thing gapped up all the way from $8, around $8, all the way up to about $10 and over. So this was a $2 move, and it had such a great range in the pre-market gap that this is something that we want to see if there's maybe breaking news or something along those lines that can help propel this stock in the right direction. Now, if we looked up the Seeking Alpha, we found that there was an article actually about the stock. Higher car skyrockets after pointing to strong driver demand. Now, you can get into deep reading into this, but the most important thing is that we have this headline. So this was a recent headline. This was on May 14th, and this was May 14th that this was gapping up. This is May 13th into May 14th. This is the pre-market, this is the aftermarket. So that news came out in the aftermarket, and it gapped up, and it continued to gap up after that. Now, if we put on our EMA, we can see that this thing continued to ride up the EMA, fall below, but it was a doji candle, so it wasn't a strong fall, and we were looking for more of a red candle to confirm a red move. It's the same as confirming an up move. We want to see a strong green candle, or we want to see a strong red candle crossing below. That's a confirmation. So this wasn't a confirmation. It continued its way up, and it wasn't until about here, this is where it really tested our wits and tested our patience, because here it blew through the EMA and then would test against the EMA and continue to fall. So I'm sure a lot of people stopped out here, and you could see the volume just spiked up and then fell back down. So it's understandable. Now, this made an opportunity for a few people to get back into their trade, come into here, but again, it retested and it just struggled from there. Now, what's most important is that you could get into your trade as soon as this thing opened. And once it sprung up like this, and again, we're looking at 2-minute candles, we're looking for it to pull back to the EMA, and that's where we'd make our entry. So as you can see here, we wouldn't just chase after that first initial move, because then we'd be sitting up here or maybe on the next candle. Or we could actually be purchasing on this area, and it would make for a little bit better profit squeeze. So if we were purchasing around the EMA and say we got in around here and we rode it all the way up till it crossed in this area here, we'd be looking at an 18% day trade. And there's 34 bars at 2 minutes apiece. That's just over an hour, I believe. If my math's correct, it's just over an hour of work. And you can see at the bottom here, you can see the time. So this is 10:36. So it was before 11 o'clock in the morning, and you're already out of your trade, and you get to enjoy time with your family or just get to other things that you need to be doing. But in this situation, we made 18% on our trade, and it's a really nice trade. Now, that's using the EMA. Let's check out the VWAP on the 2-minute chart. Now, it looks a little wonky, and there's a reason for this. It continued to trend up. It didn't come back down. It would use the yellow line as a support line. So it would jump up, and then you could use this yellow line as actually an entry here, because it would continue to maybe wick down, but it would be picked back up and rejected the lower prices. This thing continued to ride up, ride up, ride up. So it wasn't until here again where it then broke that line, and this is where you'd have to get worried. And then once you get down to this lower band, maybe that's where a lot of people had their stop loss, and then they never got triggered out. They got to come up here, sell at the top of this band again, and this made new highs. Now, whether it went down, up after that, again, that's not really important. What's important is the move from here to here, because we're trying to get in and out of our trades in the first hour or two of the market, because this is when the most volume is usually occurring. And on this stock in general, it continued all the way up to about 10 o'clock. And it wasn't until about 10, 11 where the volume really started to rush in. And that's where we started to have the upward move. And that's where I like to sell. Once I see the volume really come in, that's where I like to get out. Sure, we had a lot of volume here and we started to increase, but this is where we had so much volume that there had to be pressure to get out of the trade. Now, if we take a look at this one and we pull up the, let me minimize this, and let me pull up the day chart on this one. I'm going to hit the reset. Now, this is my normal pre-market prep. So I saw this one was gapping up. And what I would do is I'd come to the day chart, I'd zoom in a little bit, and I'd mark obvious levels of support. Now I saw here it bounced on the line a lot of times, and then it bounced this wick here. I go right over here, you can click on these tabs, and you have a variety of tools. This one right here is the horizontal line. So I'm marking it wherever I see it, basically are obvious levels. The bottom of this one here. Now let's go up a little bit. Let's hit this one here. We've seen it test here a few times. And don't get crazy. I mean, you can get crazy with these, but you don't have to worry too much if you missed a line or two. You can always add them throughout. But I like to do this on the day charts. And I'm looking for powerful moves. And we saw it here as well. And then we can see it here testing this area a lot. And we'll put one here, which is the top. Wherever I feel like it tested the bottom, I like to test the top. So if I'm going to put one here, where I believe it tested here and here a few times, and I'm also going to put one at the top of those. So as if I make basically like a range, and that's where I'm looking at. So it looks like a mess of lines right now, and don't let that phase you. Hit the 5 minutes, hit the reset, and again, this is the gap up that we saw, and this is the move that we saw following after. Now these lines are the same as that EMA, where we want to see it break the line and then have a strong move up and a strong support and volume to follow. If that were to be the case, then you could look to these lines as a area to maybe enter your trade. And these aren't exact lines. You see 11:30, 12:11 here. But what you can see here is that this thing shot up, and say you entered in your trade here because it broke above and held. Then it broke above again, and you weren't worried about this downward move or this downward move because you knew this line was here to test. It tested this line here and tested here again and continued up. Now if you didn't get in your trade here, maybe you were looking at these lines, and when it tested this line, you were looking to maybe enter into your purchase or enter into your trade for going long. And if you did so, then you could purchase right about there on that wick and sell for a 9% move. And this is where you can see, and this will give you a real fast idea. Now that took me 2 seconds to mark these lines, and again you can go to a 2-minute chart, hit the reset, zoom out a little bit, and it looks like a mess of things, but you can see it test, 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 and you can look to these areas of support and resistance to make areas to either exit or enter your trades. And this is just a quick pre-market prep on the day charts. So sure, again, it looks like a mess on here. Pull to a smaller time frame, and what you'll see is this thing gapped up here in the pre-market, and sure, it was real high compared to what it was before, but when it tested this line here and broke and held, and you saw the volume coming in, this here were two signals to basically go long on this trade for me. If you add the EMA, it rode the EMA all the way up. See the 2 minutes? We'll scroll back over. 2 minutes, it rode the EMA almost all the way up. It was right here where we had to maybe get a little bit worried, but it was a doji, and it was only a 2 minute doji, 4 minutes worth of biting your nails before this thing sprung back up and you were in the green zone and you could really make a strong move. And again, if you purchased at this line, sold up here, you made it 18% real easy. Now, if you bought right at open and you got it one of these wicks here, you really timed it great. You're looking at 20% move or more. And this is really great. And again, just go to the day chart up at the top. These are the times right here. And if you don't see it, you can click on that down box. Click on day chart. Go over here with your tools. Mark your levels. You can scroll over, or you can hit the right click, reset chart. Scroll over, zoom in to make it easier on you. Scroll around. You know, it looks like a mess of things here, but this isn't the important chart that we're looking at, not when day trading. These are just levels to make sure that when we go into our day trade, before the market opens, we can then be aware of where we want to take profits and where we can kind of start biting our nails and think, okay, should I exit my trade? A lot of times people will enter and exit your trades without ever seeing any of these lines or any of these areas of support and resistance, and so they have no clue on where to sell or where to buy into. So if we turn on the VWAP, we turn off the EMA, and we look at the 2 minute chart again, this thing just continued up. So in this case, the lines, the day chart lines, and the EMA itself worked as the indicators we need, combined with this volume up below. You can hit this here to get the lines off the screen, and that's how you can see that we had a perfect opportunity to make a nice day trade and make a nice profit. Now, say you're a momentum trader like myself. Sometimes you just want to trade momentum, and just sheer volume is really what's going to propel you and what's going to push you into your decision making and trading. Now, in the beginning of the market, the first 5, 10, 15 minutes of the market, I always stick to the scanner here. It's again on tradingview.com. I go to my filters, 20,000 shares traded minimum, 100,000 shares traded on the daily 10-day, 1% change, and 50 cents or higher. Now, when looking at the scan, I'm going to stick to the 5 minute and the 1 minute scans. These are paid versions. You may have a free version through your platforms like Webull or Ameritrade, something like that, but I pay for this version. And if you're day trading, I highly recommend that you have a intraday screener like this. So I stick to the 5 minute and the 1 minute. Now, when we look at the 1 minute, this is going to show me the last minute before market close, because this is on the weekend. So it's going to show me the last minute on market close. 282,000 shares were traded in the last minute on VTNR on Friday. So if I pull up the 1 minute chart on VTNR, I'll hit the reset. And what that scan is going to show me, this 282,000 shares traded, is going to show me this volume spike right here. So these are the volume candles at the bottom. This volume spike right here is what this scan is telling me. So it's telling me that VTNR just had a 1.6% move in the last minute, and it was a 282,000 volume traded candle. So we go over, we look at these volume right here. You can see over on the left side over here again, you can see 282,000 shares traded on that candle. 282,000 shares traded on that candle. So that's a 1 minute scan. In the morning, I like to stick to a 5 minute scan, and I like to see which the highest shares traded. I like to stick to these stocks, the top 3 to 5 of these stocks. The reason I like to do so is because trend is your friend in day trading. Now, although I love to think that I know something, and maybe I know a news article that seems really compelling, but Whether if there's volume there or not is the major question. And if the volume is somewhere else, then I want to be where the volume is. So if you're scanning like this and you're seeing volume rush in, then maybe on a move like GameStop, you'd be able to catch that move because you'd see the average volume is maybe 3 million shares traded, but you could see GameStop in the first 5 minutes had 1 million shares traded. So you can see that it's going to be a whirlwind of a day for GameStop. And if you pull up the chart and you're seeing a lot of green candles and wick, then and a lot of green candles and volume to the high side, then that's where this scanner is going to come into play. So again, these are my filters, pretty vague for my filters, and I keep it to a 5-minute scan or a 1-minute scan. The 5-minute scan is pretty great because you'll see a little bit more stocks. You'll see 28 on this list. You go to a 1-minute scan, you're only going to see 9 on this list. So this is my momentum scanner on TradingView. You might have something similar on a platform that you use, so definitely take a look at this, and I highly recommend it if you're day trading. This is something I use very often. So guys, thanks for sticking around to the end of this video. Join our Discord. Everything in it is free. Buy alerts, sell alerts, stocks I'm researching, and live chat rooms. Everyone try to stay green, and I'll see you in the next video.